Parent cafes are a way for parents to come together and express themselves.
I think the parent cafes are inclusive. I also think that they're a wonderful tool for family strengthening.
The Parent Cafe is great when it comes to just bonding with other parents, especially for me because I don't have a lot of friends that I associate with. I think time management is a big struggle for any person. You know what I mean? It's a lot going on. My life before the cafes was unorganized. I had so much to do and I just didn't learn to prioritize.
I was the primary caregiver for a 2-year-old, and I didn't know that during the times of the cafes that I would be building my resilience for what was to come, because in April of this year, that 2-year-old was murdered. And I was able to really, some of the people I met through the cafe, was able to kind of lean on those folks as a shoulder.
My name is Kimberly Velasquez. I'm the East Coast Program Manager and Senior Trainer for Be Strong Families. The cornerstone of our work are the Parent Cafés. We've trained in 23 states, including Guam and Puerto Rico, and also in Africa. I basically say that I get paid to love on people. We've been partnering with Bainum Family Foundation for 2 to 3 years now, bringing parent cafes into the early childhood centers in the Ward 7 and 8 in Washington, D.C.
My name is Marcus Gray. I work at the Bainum Family Foundation as the Senior Manager for Partner and Community Engagement. As we were thinking about the type of models that we wanted to introduce and best practices that we want to introduce to the early learning community in Washington, D.C., Parent Cafes really just kept coming up in our research and our understanding of, how do you authentically engage parents.
At Parent Cafes, parents gather in a safe environment to have conversations centered around the 5 protective factors. The 5 protective factors are the characters or traits within a family that nurture the spirit and the family and increase well-being and reduce the risk of child abuse and neglect. The 5 protective factors are parental resilience, social connections, concrete supports in times of need, knowledge of parenting and child development, and social emotional competence of children.
The parents get a better understanding of the 5 protective factors, then they're able to go home and use those in their day-to-day family life.
Parental resilience, which is basically being strong and flexible. It's not getting knocked down and keeping it moving and standing up every day to do what you need to do for yourself and for your family.
I love resilience because it just teaches you about emotional management, and it just teaches you like how your reactions may cause a reaction from the kids. So that's my favorite protective factor.
Next is social connections. What I always say is you have parental resilience, everything starts with me, but some things are bigger than me. So I have those people that I go to that I can call at 4 o'clock in the morning. Then there are some things that are bigger than my people. This is when I need to find resources that are in my community. And it's not just about finding the resources, it's about actually knowing how to go about and getting them and being resilient enough to walk through those doors to those buildings. Knowledge of parenting and child development, which is twofold. It's not only knowing the things that are natural to us as a parent. The child development piece comes in where it's knowing where your child is supposed to be at developmentally, those ages and stages, and recognizing that you shouldn't have the same expectations from your 14-year-old daughter that you have for your 6-year-old child, and the boys and girls are different and every child is different. The last protective factor is social emotional competence of children, which is basically communicating with your child. Not just how you communicate with your child, but how you communicate around your child. Once we start the Parent Cafe and welcome everyone into the space and let everyone know we're here to have a great time and have great conversations with other parents, we go right into the Parent Cafe agreements.
Parent agreements actually set the tone of the cafe. That's where we actually talk about the integrity of the cafe, the fact that what you say in the cafe is going to remain in the cafe and no one's going to share it with other folks.
The agreements are listen attentively, we're not giving advice, speak from your own experiences, confidentiality, we ask that people not have any electronic distractions. The biggest one is there's no judgments, positive or negative.
After the agreements, we move to the one-on-one.
The one-on-ones are our icebreakers. with the Parent Cafe model. And what I like about the one-on-ones are that you get to meet new people, but they get to tell you what they want about themselves. And likewise, you get to share tidbits about your personality and your life with a new friend or a new acquaintance.
You're going to have a 5-minute dyad where each person has 2.5 minutes to speak to the particular question that matches the theme of the Parent Cafe for the day. Well, for the Parent Cafes, we really highlight either 2 or 3 protective factors that day, and that's what we're having conversations around. And based on what's going on in the community or what the holiday is or what has really come to surface that needs to be addressed, that'll be the theme of the Parent Cafe.
My favorite cafe theme has been communicating.
Then we jump right into the cafe conversation. So these are about 12 to 15 minutes of group conversations.
Table conversations, I think, are the meat of the Parent Cafes. This is where all the discussion takes place. And what I like about it, again, it's typically parent-driven, the discussion. And while there's a table host to guide the discussion, it's all about the parents having that conversation and their voices being heard.
This happens 3 times. You get 3 different questions. You're also having discussions with pretty much everyone in the room because you're rotating tables.
We realize that our stories aren't very different, and you have a sense of camaraderie, like, oh, she understands me, or oh, they understand me. And I think it's very important to feel understood, you know, when we're going on this journey of parenthood.
Following the cafe conversations, it's kind of a bit of a wrap-up. So we talk about the aha moments that we got from our conversations.
It's that, as they say, that light bulb that goes off in your head that brings it all together. So it's that one, that word or those words that summarize what the cafe means to you.
And then I think one of the 2 best parts about the cafe are you have to write yourself a commitment letter.
The commitment cards are, at the end of the cafe, it's a commitment that we make for ourselves and our families moving forward, and it's based on the theme of the cafe. And typically we mail them out about 2 weeks after, and they normally come at a time where you least expect it, but they're always needed. So every time I get a commitment card, I open it up and it reminds me of a commitment that I've made for myself and my family.
And then lastly, there's the one word.
The one-word closing at the end of the cafe is just something that expresses what you got out of it.
My word would be awesome. Enlightening for me. You know, just to hear the different perspectives from everyone.
Like love.
Yes.
It just feels so nice to have like good, clean conversation and so much positivity. I love it.
So your word is love, and your name is
When I go home after a cafe, I just feel it's like a weight lifted off. It gives you different strategies and ways to interact with your kids, kind of ways to kind of counteract what they may be going through.
I have definitely made a lot of friends throughout the Parent Cafes.
I feel like everyone should try at least one Parent Cafe.
You know, after that first cafe, I was definitely hooked and am definitely one of the biggest advocates within my organization and across the city.